Hey everyone, so I just wanted to take a moment to address some of the responses I got over my post about where exactly is the moon. And I want to say for the better part, most people have been very courteous and respectful in their discourse, simply posting their examples of what they believe proves or shows evidence counter to what I'm seeing. And that I can respect and appreciate because somebody's actually taking the time in an intellectual manner to try and show me something. And I believe it's an act of sincerity. And again, I appreciate that. That's what I'm looking for. This is how healthy debate and discourse is done. Because as I said, I don't have all the answers, but I'm honestly seeking them. But where I run into a problem is not only when you want to tell me what I'm suggesting is wrong without any counter explanation and then proceeding to mock me, minimizing my argument as nothing but absurd, while not being willing to look at any counter argument or evidence and proceed to tell me you won't bother because it's a ridiculous argument, it's already settled, and a waste of your time. That's just intellectual laziness. And honestly, a bit cowardly. Kind of like a drive-by shooter. You creep up, fire off all your ammo, and then drive away as fast as you can before anybody has a chance to fire back. Not to mention, by the way, you're insulting an ever-growing population of very intelligent people, in which I'm not alone. It's simple. If you don't have a time to look at the evidence that I'm presenting, then you don't have the time to tell me I'm wrong. And perhaps you should just refrain from commenting. I mean, what are you afraid of? You might find out what you thought isn't what you thought. We see this a lot in politics. The mainstream media produces the narrative, telling everyone what to think, and just shut up. It's already settled. Don't ask questions, or you might just be a science denier. And your post will be labeled as mis and disinformation. Ha! The First Amendment. That only applies to us in the intellectual hierarchy, these days otherwise known as the woke. We saw this with COVID. Trust the science! Now, slowly but surely, we're finding out, as many of us suspected, things aren't exactly what they told us they were. Same with the Ukraine war and Russia. All the news is about Ukraine, and all the reports are about what's going on in Ukraine, and what Ukraine is saying, and what the United States is doing about it. But we barely hear anything from the Russian side. Why is that? Well, Mark, I mean, clearly Russia's the enemy, so we can't trust anything they say. We must assume right out of the gate that they're wrong and evil. Maybe, but folks, sometimes your enemy can be right. And now when you actually look into what's been going on in Ukraine, you'll find they're very corrupt. Of course, I'm not talking about the people, I'm talking about the government, much like here in the United States. And they were basically doing a lot of things that Russia told them to stop doing. And of course, the whole thing about Ukraine becoming a NATO country and a threat to Russia's security. But that's another topic for another time. What's my point? The point is, if you don't do the work to ask the hard and uncomfortable questions, you're going to end up with even harder and more uncomfortable results. And we're seeing that a lot lately. But I know many of you, as did I, are suffering from a form of cognitive dissonance, or what's called incredulity fallacy, which basically is a logical fallacy that occurs when someone assumes something is false simply because it's too difficult to believe. Which brings me back to the flat earth versus globe. Again, maybe you're convinced, but I'm not. I'm not entirely convinced that the flat earth model has all the answers. But it's very interesting to me what I'm discovering. Oh, Mark, it's just too much. I can't. I don't have the time. Well, you had the time to tell me I'm wrong. Look, come with a take, have an opinion, but be ready to be challenged on that opinion, no matter how absurd you think it is, or just simply don't say anything. Put up or shut up, because I'm only interested in one thing, and that's the truth. And that's why I'm simply asking the question.